Diablo players, you have 24 hours to make this insane build. And the reason why I say you have 24 hours is this is going to go bye-bye. So this is one of the most insane builds that I have seen in the entire game for speed. It is probably going to go down as the fastest SpiritBorn build in the entire game. I don't know if they're going to allow us to ever go this fast again, because it almost reminds me of like Diablo 3, or if you played Path of Exile, when you get like a Headhunter Mage Blood, you're just deleting the entire screen. This is what's called the Evade Eagle. I think the original creator was Insane Bob, but here's my take on the build. If you guys want to play it again, this is going to be something where you got to build this real fast because they are actually nerfing it. Like, I'm not even just over exaggerating. This is actually going away, okay? So it'll just be kind of cool to have this video here, kind of like my other video where we had like a GR 150 completed with no weapon. It's just going to go down in Diablo history as some of the cool stuff, and I like to have this, archive of like the cool things that happened in, a video game. It's kind of just like nostalgic for me to sometimes go back and check out some of the most OP things in just video games in general, but this is pretty cool. So anyways, let's go ahead and go over one thing that's very important with this. Every single attack is actually pushed. You cannot hold this down. So what this means is if you want this build to function good, you need a controller with rapid fire, you need a mouse with free scroll, you need some rapid fire on your keyboard, okay? Now, I really wouldn't recommend you guys to download some application that does this because, I don't know, sometimes with certain video games, they don't like it when you use macros, and I don't want you guys to get banned, but if it's a peripheral thing, then obviously, well, it's a peripheral, right? So this is not sponsored or anything. This is the Logitech G502. So what this is used for is it has normally, like, you can set up your scroll wheel up and down to be dodge, right? You can do that. And that can work to an extent, but what you want to do is rapidly have all of these things activated. So there's a button on this mouse that lets me do a free scroll, and then I can just do this, and it's just constantly spinning. I'll let you guys hear it. So it's just registering like I don't know, hundreds of times every few seconds. Like, it's just so fast. So what I'm doing with this build to play it efficiently, I'm spinning this, letting it spin, and then when I want to stop to cast Centipede, I literally have to stop it by pushing my finger over it so it stops. Because how it works is you're attacking so fast, it's even if this goes on and I push anything, it won't register, okay? So it's important, other than your first two skills. The first two skills are like the shields on the sorceress, where like it has no animation. So that's something very important that I do got to go over. I mean, if you want to, you could go slam on your keyboard and just push the thing like as much as you possibly can, but your hands are going to get tired. It's just manually too intensive. So just letting you guys know as a heads up, if you want to see the same results, you need a rapid fire or some sort of crazy mod. But let's go ahead and go over the build. But yeah, just be careful you download third-party applications. I don't know what Blizzard allows, really. I mean, if it's a Razer device, you should be okay. Take it with a grain of salt, because the reason why I say it's okay with Razer is because Blizzard worked with Razer on the mouse before, on the Razer Naga, and that thing's got macros like crazy. I'll tell you that's for sure when you download the Synapse. So I want to say that there are maybe, I don't know if SteelSeries has worked with them, but basically, I think there was also, Z-boards back in the day. There's probably a lot of companies that have worked with Blizzard, so maybe stick with those applications to be a little bit safer, but again, just use at your own discretion if you're using some sort of like, exe file, okay? Versus just like, if I'm running this, right, on my actual mouse, I should not get banned for it because it's like, it's the mouse. It's like a controller with a rapid fire. Is it cheating? I mean, is it a PvE game? I don't know. But anyways, let's go over the skills now. So for starters, we're running Ravager. So Ravager allows us to get a ramp up bonus based on Jaguar. We don't really need it to like teleport or anything because this build, it's just an evade build basically. And then Armor Hide, this allows us to have a bonus of resolve every few seconds, but then also it just maxes out a resolve. Then we're on Concussive Stomp. This will grant us some shields, as well as it will activate a Gorilla skill, which is utilized for bonus HP. This you don't need to push. This you don't need to push. Centipede, the Devour thing, this you do want to push because it gives you a big bonus. And the reason why I like this over Jaguar, I was actually running Jaguar in the very beginning of this, and then I like Devour a lot more because it lasts longer, and lasting longer is definitely a good thing with this build because you get a bonus based on how many enemies you kill with it while it is active. And you can kill enough stuff for the thing to max out, but the stacks won't go down while this is still active, which is why I like this. And if you put enough points into it, you basically get near 100% uptime with the bonus. Sometimes, depending on your roles on certain things, or if you masterwork it, yeah, you could be maybe a second or two off, but for the most part, it's golden. Then we run double eagle here. We need double eagle because our damage actually comes from, like, when you evade, you fling these feather storms, which deals some sort of amount of damage, and it makes enemies vulnerable, which is great. So yeah, this is like your main source of damage is evade, by the way. You don't actually cast Thunder Spike. This is just utilized for automatically activating and then getting a bonus on cooldown on your evade over here. Then as far as the gear goes, we're running Loyalty's Mantle. This thing, it doesn't matter the rolls on the 20 to 60%. The other thing always rolls 100. That's all you need. And then you want, ideally, you want damage reduction. If you can get that greater affix, that's cool. And then you want Aspect of Interdiction, which is basically in like every single build. We'll start off, by the way, with Pit 70, and then we'll kind of ramp it up so you guys can see. But it's just... keep in mind, this build is mainly made to be a speed farming build. I'm still leveling up my glyphs because I wanted to try out this thing before it got deleted out of the game. So I want to drop a quick little build guide because while I was playing this, everyone was asking every 5 seconds on TikTok. It was like, yo, can you drop the build guide for us? And I'm like, I got you guys. Just letting you guys know it's going to get nerfed because it was already announced that it was going to get nerfed in some sort of way. And we really don't know if they're going to give us any compensation for it, like as in like we didn't get the announcement of extra damage. So this build might just be like completely dead. It's not even, oh, it got nerfed, it lost a lot of damage. No, it's like not going to be the same build at all because you can't spam on the evade, so you're going to have like a rough time essentially after it gets nerfed. But still works right now, and it'll still work for another day. Anyways, so we run this. We want as much armor as possible. We could basically stack a lot of armor over here. Then we're going to get Redirected Force. We gain crit strike damage equal to block chance, and then yeah, this is basically on a lot of builds. And then this one over here is kind of optional over here. So you can see when you cast a Gorilla skill, it's going to grant you extra barrier, and it can help out with your armor and resistances. I was running, for a while, I was running Tyraels in the chest piece, and then I was also mixing it with Rakonoths. There's a lot of things that you can do with this one. I'm just mentioning like other options. If you really want to get your damage up really high, this can technically be possible. But there's actually a lot of other utility for like damage. There's a slow one, where like once an enemy is slowed, you can get a bonus damage. You can run that and the, how is it, Binding Morass. This one is probably what I would recommend too, but I just wanted to mention that one also. It was used in like kind of another build, and basically we just kind of took this another build and then just modded it from there. But basically, this is the one I would probably recommend overall, though. But there's other options. If you want to try to push, you have a little bit more options. But Rakonoth's Wake is also a really good thing in this build because it gives you non-physical damage, gives you cooldown reductions, gives you resistances mainly. That's the main thing that you really want. And then we also have Senpin Zone Tech. So the reason why you run this is your basic skills always counted as a third attack. Nothing else really matters. So you don't really need anything. If you can get dexterity to roll on it as greater affix, cool. But like nothing matters. You don't need the basic skills deal double damage. I wasted so much time trying to get a good one of these. Don't bother. Then we run Unyielding Hits. This is going to give you a bonus when you cast a Gorilla skill. That's why we need to run Tzik over here. That's why we do use the Concussive Stomp. It activates that Gorilla skill, and then it's going to grant us a lot of armor, and it applies it to our damage. So really good. And then we want Maximum Resolve on like everything that we can possibly get. So yeah, get that Maximum Resolve stacks, and it'll get way more damage. You do not need attack speed because you're going to manually be casting Evade. So you just want as much crit, dex, max life. If you want to cap out on resistances, is fine, but you're gonna way over cap on armor. In fact, I was actually thinking about just running like Disobedience and then Juggernaut. Just run like everything. Run Harlequin too if you want, but I didn't get a Harlequin yet, so as far as it goes, you can run it. I was gonna make this is like the easier version, so you can just like pretty much make this. Any decent Diablo player can probably make this in like an hour. It's a really easy thing to go ahead and make, because most of the stuff is like just recycled gear. It's like, oh, you just need Senpin Zone Tech and Loyalty's Mantle. These are the two things you need. If you don't have these, this build does not really function properly. But the rest of the stuff, I mean, you probably already have. So we have elements, conceded, just any sort of like generic multipliers here is really what we want. We can get also Spirit Feather Potency. You'll see that on a few different rolls. If we can get that, cool. Over here, that's what it actually should be. Oh, by the way, this is actually something important to mention. So it's actually, it says Spirit Feather Potency, but it's actually Storm Feather Potency, so just keep that in mind. There's just a lot of websites that are updating their stuff, and so that's the correct wording on this, as I just didn't have it. So Spirit Feather Potency is the correct thing that you actually Storm Feather Potency. It says Spirit, but again, that's what you want. Yeah, pretty much just crit dex anywhere you can, and then we run Bak Gar, and then run Sem Tzik. And then for the gems, we run this. This doesn't matter in the weapon because you're going to run in the Rune Word in the weapon and then one of your pieces. And then if you want to run Barrier, and then all armors. You don't even need a res cap. Don't even bother res capping. I honestly think that you could probably get away in this entirety of the game, unless you're doing for the highest push. You genuinely don't even need resistances in this game. Like, I don't know. I think that it's kind of broken again. If you guys remember Season 0, I think because of the number scrunch, they may have just kind of messed up resistances again. I'm not 100% positive, but I want to say that if you want a res cap, yeah, Ragnar's Wake is good. But if you don't happen to have these, dude, don't even worry about capping on res. Armor, though, you definitely still want to cap out on. But if you're like 50, 60, it's not that big of a deal. Heck, there's a lot of people, I was actually talking about this like yesterday in my stream. People are like, dude, I have negative armor, or negative resistances, not negative armor. Don't have negative armor. They're like, I have negative resistances, like, and it doesn't even matter because the armor's broken, or like it's way better is what they were trying to point out. But yeah, basically you may be able to completely get away with no resistances in the game. There's also a Paraglass that makes all the damage you take as poison, so at that point you can just get poison res and then you'd be good to go as well. Another option. Anyways, skill tree, let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, and then you guys can see it. So the first few points over here, you have this one over here where it can burst on the enemies, or this is the one you want, Accelerated Thunder Spike, where when you evade, you're going to attack with Thunder Spike. So that's why you need the Thunder Spike. It's always going to use the third attack, and it makes enemies vulnerable. That's really important because on the third attack, it's going to reduce the evade cooldown. That's basically the build right there in a nutshell. And so going to the next page, oh dang, there's like skills just popping up. Okay, I feel like I'm visiting like a bootleg site to download ROMs or watching anime. Anyways, so you don't need this for damage. You need to put points in this to progress in the skill tree, okay? So that's just something to note. This doesn't do anything. You can put it into anything. It's just that you need to progress your skill tree. So the important thing is you run this one so it does it activates this more frequently. You get some damage reduction, more crit, fuel. This is something that I'd say is like the best thing ever. You got to put 1 point into that. It's one of the best things ever. Get more damage reduction per stack of resolve, and you're going to max that out. This one over here makes so when you push the button, it's going to give you max resolve. It's tied to getting some damage on the build, and then we're just going to run this one for extra barrier. Then we want concussive stomp. You have to put 1 point into this, also enhance, so it gives you that barrier when it activates off your rune word. And then I run this just for extra dodge chance. And then we have this over here. You need to get 2 evades. Okay, this is important. So you can get that on your boots, or you just put 1 point in here and then you're solved. And then we run this over here because the other thing can one shot, and then just extra HP. And then this one, even though remember it's not considered a Jaguar skill, like if you run the other Helm of Ebiwaka, it's not like you need the skill to count as a Jaguar skill. But what we do this for is that hitting enemies with a Jaguar skill increases all the damage they take with you. So that's why you run Ravager, which is already in most builds anyways. And then this one only makes it so Jaguar skills deal that crit. So, and Jaguar doesn't, that little Ravager damage is is laughable. So getting that to get increased crit strike damage doesn't matter. And then we get all these bonuses. So it's Supremacy. That's why I like the Centipede a lot more. And then you can run this where it actually heals you as well. I actually had that help out once we started pushing into the 80s and 90s. This was a little bit more helpful. It's like the boss just has a lot of HP, and this kind of helps to sustain a little better. And then we run Vital Strikes. So we're going to be applying vulnerable and then removing it, and applying vulnerable and then removing it. And then it's going to also heal. It's going to also generate vigor over here. So, and then it's also going to remove the vulnerable effect, but it doesn't matter because you just reapply it anyways. So that is it for the build in terms of the skill tree. Now, as far as the Paragon board, it's basically the exact same. Now, just as a few notes here, you don't need any of the resources, and you do not need any of the attack speed. They were just kind of path towards the stuff that I was going to get anyways, which was dodge, because I took my build that I already had that you guys may have already seen, which is the variant where we get resolve stacking. It's the quilt volley build that pretty much everyone's playing. Most builds are going to be pretty much the exact same in terms of the glyphs. However, there's one that's different here. It's called Jagged Plume, but this one gives you, so for when you spawn a Storm Feather, it's going to give you increased damage, and then you also get Spirit Feather or Storm Feather. Again, this is the wording here, the potency of it. So that's the other thing here that would be important. But basically, it starts off with Spirit, then we go into the Fulminate over here. This is one of the best things in the entire game because it's just, well, let me go ahead and, if I can mouse over it. So when you cast 3 of the skills in the same row, it's going to give you the bonus over here. So pretty much everyone gets sapping. And then as far as the next one goes, you can go into Talon over here. And then we're going to get the Vicious Shield, so that's why we want some sort of barrier, and the Gorilla skill will apply it with the Stomp. And then we can go into Convergence with Colossal, so this is why we stack as much Resolve as possible. It gives us damage. Now remember, our skill isn't going to be converted into a gorilla, so we actually don't really need to get that much into the strength over here. So just get the minimum requirements for strength, because you don't get the any of the additive bonuses here. And then we get Jagged Plume over here, and we get this one where you get to knock down and you get a bonus to crowd controlled. And since we applied this already, unless you want to run the little circle thing, which is it's possible if you really wanted to try to push to go for other variants of it. Now, there is another variant if you want to, because 7 Zotac actually sucks for the stats, like follow through, basic skills. It doesn't really do anything, right? So what you can do, this is like big brain. It's really rough to do, and I probably wouldn't recommend you guys to do it if you guys don't have the build. Just copy this one, you'll have a good time with it, and then it'll get nerfed and whatever. Now, if the build is still good, like if this build somehow miraculously survives the nerfs, like, I don't know, someone's going to figure out something, that's just the nature of Diablo. Right? Something gets nerfed, we figure out how to do it again. So what you can do is you can get evade cooldown on the temper. So you can get that on your amulet, and you can get it on your boots, and then you can also get cooldown reduction on Harlequin, and then basically you cannot run this garbage weapon. Now, the reason why you need this is because it runs the evade cooldown. There is also an aspect that is a lucky hit that can also help out with evade cooldown, but that one's RNG. I'd rather have just like the flat amount, that way you guarantee it. So I will be making a min-max version of this build if it, again, does happen to survive somehow, and we can figure it out. So I'll up to you guys with it, but I know you guys wanted the build guide. Again, it was like every few seconds that people were coming in. You guys were like, dude, this build seems OP. What the heck is this? Why did I build Quill? The thing is Quill, guys, is not getting nerfed, and it's actually better than this. And like I said, we can go up way higher in this build, but at the moment, well, the thing is that just build this one. However, if you want to, you can go even crazy with armor with this build, as well as a lot of different builds with the SpiritBorn, and you just stack armor. The damage number it gets crazy. Well, you really need to get, if you really want to start pushing really high, because like I started this build and then I was like doing like 70s, and then like pushing into like 80, like you just saw us complete at 85, but going into like 80s, it felt like it was a lot harder. You need to get a lot of armor. So ideally, like, just get everything greater affix armor, and don't even care about resistances. That would have been the better option. Now, I know there's a lot of people that like, because like when I used to play action RPGs, I'm always like, dude, I'm not res cap. I want everything 75. I get it, but I promise you, you don't need it for. Like, I'm not even talking about this build, I'm talking about Diablo in general. Unless you're doing some sort of hard endgame content where you're going to sit in AoE, like, you just need armor in this game. I don't know what the heck is up with this season, but also, I'm curious to know what you guys think about armor. Try running, like, really low resistances, or like 20 resistances or something, and then just stack as much armor as possible in SpiritBorn. Now, if you're playing another class, okay, you don't need that much armor. The reason why you stack so much armor is because unyielding hits gives you a % of your armor, which can go absolutely crazy, and then it adds it right into your weapon, which this is honestly pretty busted. My guess, guys, is this will probably be the next thing that gets nerfed. Like, this thing is just going to get deleted. It's way too good, man. Anyways, that's going to wrap things up. Oh, by the way, if you want to get something with greater affix armor, good luck, dude. It's like 1 billion gold. It's not cheap, but the thing is that it's not that uncommon to get a greater affix on armor on a roll. But anyways, that's gonna wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell. And if this build survives, I will update you guys, because I've honestly had so much more fun with this build. But it is in the very first like 10 minutes that you play it, your eyes kind of go crazy, because it feels like there's kind of screen shake if you like kind of watch the gameplay of like kind of how it works. But I got used to it after like 10 minutes. But for the first 10 minutes, I was like, dude, I'm not playing this build. But if you stick with it, it is kind of cool. Anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which hopefully will be an update to this build, because it was fun. Anyways, peace out. The planet will be pinned down below.